Hey, I'm Mike, and today I want to talk to you about some props. Now, if any of you have been flying for any amount of time, you know what prop this is. This is the HQ 5x4x3 V1S. Every single prop manufacturer has a version of this prop. It is so popular and so good that everybody has produced it. But it's not perfect. However, in the last 2 years, there's not really been a prop that's come around to contend with it in terms of being the king of all props. But today we're going to look at what might actually be a possible contender to take the crown from the 5x4x3 V1S. Let's put the 5x4x3 V1S on the bench and let's take a look at what makes it good, and let's take a look at what the shortcomings are. As you can see, this is the HQ 5x4x3 V1S. There's a few things that make this prop pretty amazing. Number one, it's light. And because it's light, that means that when you have a change in throttle, it spins up and slows down very quickly. That gives you a very consistent control. Number two, it is energy efficient. You can fly on a 1300 milliamp hour pack for quite some time with these, sometimes getting as much as 5 minutes if you're really babying the flight. And number three, it is just a truly consistent prop. It's easy to tune, and because it is consistent, you can get great results out of a good tune. But there's a few problems with it. And the first problem is that look how thin that blade is. That blade is super thin. Because the blade is so thin, that gives the blade a lot of flex. And when there's flex, it leads to some inconsistencies in the flight. Even though this is a relatively consistent prop, it is not as consistent in the high end nor in the low end. In the high end, you get a situation where the props can actually deflect and move out of alignment. So if you're pushing a really hard punch out or you're pushing the prop at max, then you end up in a situation where the blade is just not what it should be. The other thing is that in the low end, a lot of times if you're pulling out of a maneuver and you're at zero throttle with just air mode spinning the props or idle up, then you end up in a situation where as you punch the throttle, these tips can deflect. And as they deflect, then they pop. And when they pop, they add a lot more pitch to, it's kind of a moment of inertia thing, right? Like you're settling down, and then boom, out of it. And when it pops, it can lead to unexpected changes in altitude and power because, quite frankly, it's a very hard prop to predict in that situation. Now, it is still one of the best freestyle props on the market. And I have flown it pretty consistently for almost 6 months now. But there is more that can be done to improve this prop. And what we'll see is that something else has improved on it. So, unless you've been hiding under a rock, you have heard about this prop. It is the new DAL Cyclone 5040C. It takes all of that Cyclone goodness with the DAL plastic and puts it into a package that is similar and has many of the strengths of the V1S. Now, it also improves upon a few of the problems with the V1S, and we're going to put it on the bench real quick and take a look at it so that you can see what the good things are and what the bad things are about this prop. This is the DAL Cyclone 5040C. Now, it's a little hard to see because it's in black, but it's got that pretty cyclone shape. So instead of with the, you can see the blade differences here. There's actually more meat to the blade on the Cyclone. Now that adds a little bit more weight, but it actually doesn't affect the performance in terms of throttle response very much, if any at all. I don't know that it's truly detectable. Now you can also see, if you look at the profile here, it's a variable pitch prop. There's more pitch in the low end scoop right here than there is on the top end. And that gives it more consistency in the low end. You're not going to get as much of that pop. The other reason you're not going to get as much of that pop is because this plastic is stiffer. It's harder to deform this blade in flight. That also is going to give you better performance at the high end, because once again, you're not flattening out your blade. Now, it being a Cyclone and it having been manufactured by, I forget the guy's name, it's manufactured by Dahl, but designed by this one particular scientist in China, you get a remarkably consistent flight profile throughout the entire throttle range. And that really, really makes the flight a lot more manageable. Not that the 5x4x3 V1Ss are not manageable, but this is even more manageable than a V1S. Now, you do have that slightly more aggressive pitch in the low end, and that actually sacrifices a little bit of efficiency. When you add more pitch, you're just requiring more power to draw on to keep the prop spinning. And as a result, the 5040Cs are not as efficient, but you can still get a good 3 to 4 minutes of flight if you're taking it easy. The other thing is that this is DAL plastic, and everybody who's flown a DAL prop knows that you can take these props and they can stand up to anything. The V1S is known to be quote unquote scraggle resistant, meaning it can take a shot on the leading edge and still fly. But the Cyclone props have been known to just be fabulously resistant, to the point that even if you deform one of the blades, a lot of times you can bend it back and limp around for a little while before you need to replace the prop. So the 5040C takes the control, the efficiency, and the easy tunability of the V1S, and it adds to it durability and more control in the low end and the top end, as well as more speed. It does make a couple sacrifices in terms of the efficiency, and I'm not even sure that you would notice the extra weight of the prop, but it doesn't weigh much more. And so you actually have what amounts to a possible contender for challenging the V1S in terms of being the king of freestyle props. Now, no review would be complete without some flight video. And it just so happens that I've been flying the 5040C for about a month and a half now. So let me give you some flight video so that you can see what it is possibly capable of. no prop is perfect. In the past 2 to 3 years, the 5x4x3 V1S has really been the go-to prop for all freestyle. Now, it's not perfect. There are things that could be improved upon it, and the DAL 5040C is what tries to do that. Personally, I will be flying the 5040Cs from here on out. The extra durability and the extra thrust that I get in terms of speed really help make my flights better. It has a similar efficiency profile. It's just as easy to tune as the 5x4x3, and it has a pretty solid, even more consistent performance than the 5x4x3. So I hope that you can take this, give the 5040C a try, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment on the video. I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I will see y'all soon. See you later.